I am Professor Hui-Rak Park, former Dean of the Graduate School of Politics and Leadership at Kookmin University, Seoul, South Korea. I have conducted research on North Korea's nuclear issue for many years and have recently published 14 English-language journal articles as well as 2 books in English. Through this channel, I will explain critical security issues using AI-based voice and images.
Among the security issues South Korea has faced in recent years, there is one misunderstanding that many people found hard to dismiss, something that sounded believable at the time. It was the wave of rumors and misconceptions surrounding the deployment of the U.S. THAAD system on the Korean peninsula. These rumors lasted for years and had a serious impact on South Korea's security policy and diplomacy. But as time passed, I believe many Koreans eventually realized that much of it was based on misunderstanding and exaggeration. And if some people still believe those THAAD rumors today, that itself proves how powerful misinformation can be once it spreads through society. Back in 2014, the media reported that General Curtis M. Scaparrotti, who was then the commander of the ROK U.S. Combined Forces Command, had recommended deploying THAAD to Korea. Soon after that, one claim spread nationwide. If THAAD is deployed in Korea, it can track or intercept China's intercontinental ballistic missiles. China will feel threatened and may even take military action to stop the deployment. And in the worst case, the Korean peninsula could become a battlefield between the United States and China. This argument spread incredibly fast. It became so widely accepted that a novel based on this storyline was published and even sold in large numbers. And eventually, it helped trigger a nationwide movement opposing THAAD. At the time, I appeared on many TV programs and repeatedly emphasized that these claims were not facts, they were rumors. The South Korean military and many conservative scholars also rejected the argument. But public opinion did not change easily. The claim spread so widely that it even reached China's leadership, and China began pressuring South Korea not to allow the THAAD deployment. As the controversy continued, more rumors were added, such as, South Korea will have to pay for THAAD, and THAAD's radar emits dangerous electromagnetic waves that could seriously harm public health. Because of North Korea's growing nuclear threat, THAAD was eventually deployed from 2017. But during that process, South Korea suffered major diplomatic, political, and financial costs. Now, almost 9 years after the deployment, most people probably understand the basic facts. As the word terminal in Terminal Altitude Area Defense suggests, THAAD is a terminal phase interceptor. In other words, THAAD can intercept only ballistic missiles that are flying toward the THAAD deployed area. It cannot intercept a missile right after launch, and it cannot intercept a missile that is heading somewhere else. This is not unique to THAAD. It is a basic physical limitation of missile defense systems. A faster offensive missile has to be hit by a slower defensive interceptor, so the timing and geometry are extremely limited. THAAD's approximate capability is as follows. Its intercept range is about 200 kilometers, and its intercept altitude is roughly 40 to 150 kilometers. That is why THAAD cannot intercept China's ICBMs. If China launches an ICBM toward the United States, the missile's flight path would not go over the Korean peninsula. It would travel over Siberia and toward the Arctic. And even if an ICBM did pass above Korea, it would fly at around 1,000 kilometers in altitude at speeds of Mach 20 to Mach 30. THAAD, by contrast, has a maximum intercept altitude of only about 150 kilometers, and its interceptor speed is roughly Mach 8. So, interception is simply not possible. There was also a major exaggeration about THAAD's radar, the AN/TPY-2 X-band radar, which serves as THAAD's eyes. Many people believed that THAAD could see everything China is doing militarily, but that was wrong. In general, the radar's detection range is around 1,000 kilometers, which is far from enough to cover all of China. In a different surveillance mode, the range can extend to about 2,000 kilometers, but even then, it would mainly reach only parts of China's eastern coastal areas. It still would not be able to track China's inland ICBM forces. There is another important limitation as well. Because of the curvature of the Earth, an object 2,000 kilometers away must rise to a certain altitude before the radar can detect it. And and many people imagine radar as if it works like a CCTV camera, producing images.
But radar does not see video.
It detects objects as signals, basically as dots, and identifies them by analyzing their characteristics.
So the idea that THAAD can monitor all ground-level military activity is unrealistic.
Another famous rumor spread so widely that people even coined the phrase THAAD melons.
The rumor claimed that THAAD emits electromagnetic waves so strong that they could harm human health and fruit, melon, that produces in the THAAD deployed area.
But again, that was not true.
Measurements taken over since the deployment of the THAAD showed that the electromagnetic radiation level at the Seong-ju site was only about 0.2% of South Korea's safety standard.
That was the reason why Yoon Suk-yeol administration completed the environmental impact assessment for the THAAD base.
There were claims that South Korea would have to pay for the THAAD deployment, but South Korea has not paid for the THAAD system itself.
Some also argued that THAAD would increase South Korea's defense cost sharing with the United States.
But the increase in cost sharing was driven mainly by President Trump's demands, not by THAAD.
In the end, these groundless rumors and misunderstandings contributed to South Korea experiencing indirect economic retaliation from China after the deployment.
Those who deliberately created and spread misinformation should apologize and be held accountable.
But we also have to admit that the public bears some responsibility as well, because many people accepted the rumors too easily.
Even more troubling is that some politicians and scholars who helped produce, spread, and reinforce these rumors faced no consequences.
Some of them showed no reflection, and they still speak loudly today as if nothing happened.
So we should also ask ourselves,
Did society truly hold them accountable?
of course, anyone can misunderstand an issue. Anyone can be misled by rumors. What matters is whether we are honest enough to admit we were wrong.
And what matters even more is whether we become more careful so that we do not fall for the next wave of misinformation again.